welcome to another episode of Run with Julia. And tonight I am with Nick Verdino, and Nick and I have not ever properly met. We haven't really had a conversation, but when I was in Battersea Park and I last met Ida, who many of you have seen in many of my episodes, and Nick was standing next to Ida. In fact, he was having a conversation with Ida, and I leapt in. And then that was that. Ida and I went off and ran round the 5K. Then Nadia and I went for breakfast in number 29 in Battersea, and there was Nick sitting next to us. So, of course, I went up to him and said, Nick, please, will you come and be interviewed? So, Nick, welcome and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you at the time, and thank you for inviting me on.
So I know nothing about Nick other than that I do remember it was the first 10K you'd run, and you run it in 53 minutes. Is that right? Do I remember?
So yeah, it's the first 10K that I'd run for a good few years. I used to run a little bit when I was younger. I have done 2 half marathons before. And I got both times exactly the same, although the second time I should have done much better. I just ran it, but didn't run it hard. So I got 1:52 on both of those. But yeah, this is the first 10K that I've done probably for 5-6 years. And so I got an absolute buzz out of doing it. I have to admit, I was running around with a smile on my face, which I thought was a bit strange. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
That's interesting. You got a buzz. So what was it? What was the feeling? And that was during the race. That wasn't afterwards.
I suppose so I went in with zero expectation. I had started running again about 3 to 4 months ago. And I slowly kind of stepped into it, and I was like, I'm not going to run for pace. I'm just going to run and just try and get a little bit fitter. And so I'd kind of said to myself that, as I do with myself, I'm doing all right, so I will set a target. So I set a target of about 55 minutes about 2 months ago, and then I injured myself, and I hadn't actually run properly for 3 weeks. And before that, I'd ran like once a week for a while, because I was trying to manage my injury. And then when I got there, I was like, I started and I was like, not setting a pace, just going to have a nice time. Started with the 60-minute kind of marker. And then I was like, okay, this is getting well. And then I saw, and I was like, well, I'll just go past him. And then I saw the 55-minute guy marker, and I was like, okay, this is going better than I thought. And then I went past him, and I was like, this is great. I was buzzing all the way through. I was like, this is great. I didn't have any expectations, and I'm having a blast because I'm just beating what I thought I would be able to do. So it was awesome.
That is an awesome way to run. In fact, Ida spoke about that in Battersea, where her marathon had been like that. And to be overtaking the pacers rather than seeing the pacer man disappear down the road is very
yeah.
You mentioned that you were going to just run, see what happened. But you said, as I do, I set a target. So tell us, is that something in your being? Is it something about your personality?
It tends to be, yeah. I can't do games non-competitively. I try to, but it's just a family trait. My brother's the same, my dad's the same, my mum's the worst. And I can't do, I'll play tennis with my dad, and he's we're always trying to beat each other. We're 30 years different, and it's just got to be us. We've just got to beat each other. And so I have to. I always. It's not that I have to, but I just kind of innately end up setting a target, whether it's work, whether it's 5-year plans, whether it's exercise, those types of things.
And does it work for you? Does it give you stress and pressure, or does it give you fulfillment, achievement, or a mixture? What?
A little bit of both. Sometimes it does give me stress, and I do stress myself out a little bit, and I don't need to. But then at the same time, when I do hit it, or I better it, etc., then it does obviously give me a massive buzz. So yeah, so it is a little bit of both.
And when you were running 5 or 6 years ago, was that for health, or was that because you were training for the half marathon you mentioned? And the motivation for it, yes.
So actually, it was probably 10 years ago that I was just as you I was like, actually it was definitely 10 years ago when I did the halves. And what was it? It was I suppose it was some of my friends wanted to do it. And so we kind of a small group of us, 3 or 4 of us, fancy doing it. So we kind of trained for that, which was great. It I I think it's great to have something like that. I work again based on targets. So I'm like, okay, so I need to book something so that I do train for it. Because otherwise I won't train as hard as I should. And so it was a little bit of both. It was definitely health and fitness. We all wanted to do a little bit of something. It was then social, and then it was great to have a little target to aim for as well.
And in your friends, so you were about, I seem to remember you're 37 now, so you were 27?
I'm 37 in January, yeah.
January. So you were 26, 27. So
yeah.
Was it competitive between the group, or were you supportive or competitive with each other, or both?
So it was funny. The first time we all went, look, we're all very different times. And so we were like, just do your own run and we'll see you at the end. The next time, and I got 152 on that one. The next time, my friend was determined to do a sub 2 hour. And I was like, well, I'm aiming for less than that. So why don't we pace together for a while? And so I tried to be with him and pace him for a while. And then I turned to him, I think it was about on mile 8 or 9. I turned to him and I said, look, I need to speed up a little bit for myself. I'm just going to go. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So it's actually never been really competitive amongst ourselves. It's just been a bit of a social thing. I just kind of try and compete against myself sometimes.
So the competition for you is more about your own targets. It's not about people. It's more about you set yourself. And is that in work environments as well?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. The person I compete with most in anything is myself. I do love competing against each other. I still try to dabble. I used to play rugby a lot, so I do try to dabble with rugby. But actually, it's not. It's funny. It's not about. It's not necessarily about beating the other people. It's about me being the best I can be in that moment. And so, I just don't want to have a bad game, so to speak. And so I don't really care. I do care about losing. But if I played hard and I'm satisfied with my thing, then I'm okay not being, the person that has won, so to speak.
Yeah, I've always seen competition and it elevates people, elevates us all, because if we're in competition, we can all bring each other to another level. I have to say, I've always competed against myself. Having said that, I absolutely love in a race racing someone.
Oh yeah. It's to me, the person I compete with most is myself. I love competing against others, and I do love winning. But if I lose and I know that I've given it all my all, it's taken me a while to get to this mentality. But if I know that I've given it my all and I've given it my best, and that's okay. Like, just because they were much better than you, that's okay. You just need to be better next time.
And how have you worked to get to that mentality? And is that across the board in your life too? And how have you done that?
I don't. It's really interesting. I don't think so. I used to get frustrated, and I still get frustrated when I lose. Don't like, I still have that. But I think, to be honest with you, I think I've just almost matured a little bit. I've just grown up and gone, the world isn't going to end. As long as you're doing the best that you can for yourself, the world isn't going to end if you don't win that rugby game. It's amateur, it's meant to be fun, and you're meant to enjoy it. The world isn't going to end if you don't hit that PB. Just keep working towards getting that PB, right? So like, losing doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It means that just keep training to get better next time.
And do you think, because I'm a coach, I don't know, Nick and I don't know each other, but I'm a coach in business life, everything. And
Mhm.
I've worked a lot in actually the financial world. And I noticed that a lot of the people in that world had loads of resilience, lots of lots of stamina. And when actually the other way around, I encouraged some of them to get fit, which was useful to support their work.
Yeah.
I noticed that they applied themselves in sport and getting fit with a lot of determination. And do you think that either business has helped you with sport with business, or do you think it's within your being and your? I mean, these are big questions for a 20-minute interview, but is it a part of your innate being that has been put into work and sport?
It's Yeah, I would say yes, because I am competitive in most things that I do, even if I'm board gaming or whatever. So it's definitely in my innate being. But I mean, how deep do you want to go, right? Because I think that my parents are the same, and so I've probably I've taken it on from them. My dad absolutely works in everything that he does. He works harder than me, and he works hard on everything. So I've got that example to kind of live up to. I've got the same with my uncle that I'm very close to, and then my mum's exactly the same. So it is innate within me, but maybe it's been trained from childhood, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you said that your mum was the most competitive of you all. Is that in sport or in work with your family, your uncle, your father, your mother?
Just in anything. So she's not the best sports player, or she's not the best sports person. But if we're playing cards or something like that, then she gets irate if she's losing, and occasionally quite insulting. And then she's gleeful when she's winning.
It is interesting. So you have grown up in that environment. And was your education that way? Was the where you went to school and things, was that an environment where they encouraged kind of?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
Was your education the same? Were you encouraged in school? Was that a competitive environment?
With so not particularly actually. It wasn't particularly competitive. I was pushed to try and do the best that I can. And then, to be honest with you, both my parents were super happy with whatever I achieved, in fairness. So they pushed me to do as much as I could. And I obviously didn't listen to them all the time. I probably could have done better, but they were also happy when I did do relatively well. But when I was at school, I was doing a lot of sports. So I started with football. I went over to rugby because I love it. And it was actually one of my dad's sports when he was young. And I think in that environment is where I really started to show that my little angry competitive edge, where I will try and do as much as I can to win, and just play as hard as I can. Essentially, I leave it all out there.
Yeah, but also what you said was interesting. You said you'd had the environment with your parents where there was the competitive environment. But earlier in our conversation, you said doing the best was the important thing, and that they obviously celebrated you doing your best, which is very interesting. So now, because I'm aware we haven't got much time, and obviously there's lots we could talk about, but and we will talk more because we're starting watching your career because this is your new running career. So now you ran your 53 minutes for the 10K. So you're obviously busy work life. So what's your dream/goals, and how are you going to do it, given that you're very, very, very busy in your work?
The best, so 10 years ago, I ran a 52-minute around London. I have already signed up, like that afternoon after Battersea, I signed up for my next 10K, which is in February. I haven't done as much training yet as I need to because it's got really wet and cold. But what I would like to try and do is push for a sub 50, which is what I've wanted to do whenever I've ran, that's kind of what I've wanted to do, and I've not done that yet. So that's my next kind of ambition. So that would be what I am now setting myself a target, and I will be pushing for that for February, I think.
Publicly.
Yeah, yeah, I'll get like 50 and 1 second, won't I?
No. I think you've got time, haven't you? And given that it's winter coming and that you're very busy, how do you think between now and then you will be able to put the training in necessary? So where are we now? November, December, January. So you've got about 3 or 4 months, haven't you? So how do you, what do you plan? And then we'll watch this space. We'll have to have check-ins.
So I've got my little I've got a 4K route planned around my house. I've got a 5K route planned, and I lived in Wimbledon, so I've got the Common. So I'm probably not going to be running there much during the winter. But I've got my plan is to do probably 1 or 2 short runs a week, and then at the weekend do a longer run and just build up to that 10K. So I obviously did a couple of weeks ago. Just go back to shorter runs, and then at the weekends progress to longer runs. And that's I'm not taking lots of advice or anything of that nature. Maybe you can help me with that, but that's kind of my plan at the moment, because I can do shorter runs during the week, and then I can do a longer run. But I don't want to hurt myself, so to speak, during the weekend as well.
Very important, isn't it, that you keep the consistency so key. But what we'll do is we can check in and see how you're doing, and actually some races, maybe, because Run Through do lots of 5Ks and things, don't they? So what you can do is make a plan to meet at a 5K. And
that would be cool. Yeah.
Because that's actually, there is one on December the 9th, but that's quite soon, maybe in the new year. But
I'd love to.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. And we'll be following you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you, Nick. That was so enjoyable to speak with Nick Verdino. Really, really fascinating always to hear a person's journey with their running, their orientation, how they approach training and competition. And I look forward to meeting him again at a run, or catching up with him when he's run his race also in February. But I'd like to see if we can find each other at a park run or something in January. And anybody else who would like to be interviewed, please do let me know. It's great fun to share our journeys and share our stories, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you'd like to be interviewed with me, either on Zoom, so it can be anywhere in the world, or meet at a race, or like with Sam, meet for a run, then please do let me know. And of course, I've got a Nadi behind the camera reminding me that if you like the video, please do put the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And I look forward to ongoing running with you. Come and run with Julia.